Michael stood before me with a somber expression.
You have two choices. Reincarnate into the next life, or stay here in the underworld, earn merits, and return to the human world as an animal.
I made my decision instantly.
I'll stay and work. I need to go back to Emily.
A year passed, and I finally accumulated enough merits to return. Michael informed me about the animals in Emily's home.
There's a golden retriever and a chubby orange cat at Emily's place. You can choose which one to become.
The choice was clear.
I'll be the golden retriever.
The chubby orange cat we had adopted was now a hefty 20-pound feline. I opened my eyes in my familiar home, but it seemed messier than before. The door creaked open, and Emily walked in, looking as beautiful as ever but noticeably thinner.
Emily. I'm back.
I rushed over, my tail wagging furiously. Emily smiled at me but looked a bit annoyed.
Buddy, calm down. Stop barking, you'll disturb the neighbors.
I could only bark now. Emily called the dog Buddy, a name she used to call me affectionately. I put my front paws on her waist, trying to stand on my hind legs, feeling like I was hugging her again. But then...
Buddy, what did you do?
She grabbed my ears and dragged me to a pile of shredded tissues.
Emily, let me explain.
Not only are you barking, but now you're also tearing up the house.
She flicked my nose, making me yelp. I felt a pang of sorrow. Emily had changed. After scolding me, Emily cleaned up and went to the kitchen. I took the opportunity to explore the house, noticing familiar and new things. Half of the study was filled with my things, now gathering dust, and the other half was filled with cat toys and snacks. But something was missing.
Where are the dog's things?
I sniffed around the house diligently, and finally found a crumpled bag of dog food behind a pile of cat food. When she was alive, Emily often pampered Pumpkin at home. It was bad enough that I couldn't compare to a cat, but now even as a dog, I couldn't compete?
Dinner time.
Emily poured both cat food and dog food into the feeding bowls, setting her own meal aside, and squatted down to watch us eat. This was the first time in 2 lifetimes that I had eaten dog food. To be honest, it wasn't bad at all. Before long, I had finished the dog food in front of me and looked up to find both Pumpkin and Emily staring at me.
Buddy, you're too much. How could you eat all of Pumpkin's food?
I was stunned. Had I just eaten cat food?
Meow.
Pumpkin cunningly jumped into Emily's arms.
You. Pumpkin is upset now.
Meow.
With Emily backing him up, Pumpkin rubbed against her, looking pitiful. Oh, come on. At that moment, I finally understood what girls meant by green tea. Emily poured another serving of dog food for Pumpkin and ordered me not to eat it, watching me closely until Pumpkin leisurely finished eating. After dinner, Emily sat on the couch and turned on the TV. Pumpkin naturally nestled in her lap, finding a comfortable spot and staying put. With my large frame, I could only curl up awkwardly at Emily's feet, serving as her furry rug. If I had known being a cat was this blissful, I would have chosen to be a cat.
Buddy, come up.
Hearing Emily's voice, I perked up my ears and easily leaped onto the couch, lying down beside her. Emily laughed as she stroked my fluffy back, and I couldn't help but feel a wave of pleasure, rolling over to expose my belly.
Buddy, you're too cute.
The warm interaction reminded me of the past with Emily. Even though I was a handsome guy with a bit of an ego, I often dressed up in silly costumes or wore goofy headgear from online shops just to make my girlfriend happy. I stayed at home for several days, increasingly feeling that being a cat was indeed more fortunate. Every night, Pumpkin would jump onto Emily's bed and refuse to leave, and Emily would helplessly cuddle him to sleep. But if I so much as put a paw on the bed, Emily would scold me and forbid it. I blinked my innocent puppy eyes pitifully, trying my best to mimic that green tea pumpkin.
All right, but you're only allowed to sleep on the bed for one night.
Satisfied, I climbed onto the bed and, just like when I was alive, lay beside Emily's pillow, nuzzling her cheek with my dog nose.
Okay, stop that.
Seeing that playing innocent worked, I managed to secure another night on the bed the next day. Every morning, I would blow softly into Emily's ear, and she would gruggily open her eyes, affectionately petting me and sometimes kissing my head. Ah! I couldn't even imagine how happy I would be if I were in my human body. But being a dog has its perks too. While Emily was at work during the day, I would use my paws to open the fridge, grab an ice cream, and then lounge on the couch watching TV, enjoying a carefree day. Pumpkin had seen me open the fridge several times, and each time I managed to get something tasty without sharing, he would hiss at me in frustration. I glanced at Pumpkin disdainfully. In my past life, I was your owner. Go find a cool spot to play, little kitty. As I grabbed a bottle of iced tea from the fridge, Pumpkin, who had been lurking nearby, seized the opportunity and snatched the iced tea right from my mouth.
Bold cat! How dare you steal from a dog's mouth?
Furious, I immediately engaged in a tug-of-war with Pumpkin. My sharp canine teeth punctured the plastic bottle, spilling the pale yellow liquid all over the floor.
I continued chasing Pumpkin relentlessly.
When Emily opened the door, the whole house looked like it had been ransacked.
What happened here?
Pumpkin and I were covered in a pale yellow liquid that looked suspiciously like something unpleasant. Realizing the mess, I let out an embarrassed woof.
What should I do now? Can I have another chance at life?
The gentle smile faded from Emily's face, replaced by a stern expression as she picked up a feather duster.
Buddy, how many times have you wrecked the house now?
Woof.
I wanted to stand my ground like a man, thinking, it's just a few hits from my girlfriend, I can take it. But the reality was, even a tough guy can't withstand the physical assault of a feather duster.
There's no escaping. Get out from under the sofa.
The feather duster struck my backside again.
Yelp.
You still have the nerve to yelp.
Emily suddenly threw down the feather duster, grabbed my sensitive tail, and pulled me out.
For a dog, the tail is a critical spot.
I went limp, allowing Emily to put a collar on me. Along with Pumpkin, who was put into a pet carrier, we were taken to the pet hospital. This pet hospital was one I had discovered when I was alive. It not only treated pets but also offered grooming services. But I never got the chance to visit before I passed away. Emily pushed open the door to the pet hospital. She was clearly a regular here, as a smiling John approached her.
Long time no see, Emily. How have you been?
The moment I saw John, I disliked him. Especially when he reached out to touch Emily's arm, my possessiveness flared up. John didn't touch Emily's arm but instead felt something furry.
Oh, it's Buddy.
John and I locked eyes, and I let out a low growl.
Emily is mine.
Buddy has grown a lot, but he seems fiercer than before.
Could you please give them both a bath?
John nodded, glancing at me a few more times.
What are you looking at? It's your honor to bathe me.
Why do I feel like I'm being looked down upon by a dog?
Due to my size, Pumpkin was set aside first. 2 staff members lifted me into the sink, and John was the one primarily responsible for bathing me.
Buddy, your owner is a real beauty, and she has such a pleasant voice. Did you know that?
Woof. No kidding.
She used to bring you and Pumpkin here alone. She must not have a boyfriend, right? What do you think about me becoming your male owner?
Woof woof. Dream on.
Annoyed, I shook the foam off my body, splattering it all over John. Even his hair.
You stinky dog! Just wait until I become your male owner. I'll show you.
The tale begins with a powerful slap of my paw against the pool's edge, exuding authority and majesty.
After all, you're just a dog. Watch me deal with you now.
I barked, woof. But John quickly had my neck in a tight grip, fastening a metal muzzle that I couldn't break free from. He shoved my head into the water, and the sensation was unbearable, as if I was on the brink of another demise.
Stay still, mutt.
Just as I was about to lose my breath, John yanked my head out of the water and poured half a bottle of shampoo on me. He scrubbed my fur roughly, yanking out tangled hair.
Whimpering softly.
I resisted, but John tied a hemp rope around my neck. The more I struggled, the tighter it got. By the end of the bath, I felt like my life had almost ended. Worse, John treated Pumpkin the same way.
Meow, meow, meow.
Pumpkin cried out in distress, and I desperately scratched at the iron cage.
Quiet.
He picked up a stick and hit me on the head with full force. My head buzzed, and I saw stars as I collapsed. Pumpkin and I endured unspeakable mistreatment. Finally, Emily arrived. John's demeanor changed instantly upon seeing Emily, gently petting Pumpkin and me, looking like someone full of love for animals.
Emily, actually, our store offers home service. You can leave your address, and I can bring the tools to your home to bathe Buddy and Pumpkin next time.
Just hearing John's affected tone made me want to gag. Pumpkin and I exchanged a glance, and for the first time, we both gagged in unison.
What's going on?
We both vomited on John, and he was instantly enveloped in a wonderful aroma.
Your store caused my pets to vomit. It's already generous of me not to hold you accountable. Also, we have a purely business relationship. Don't address me by my first name.
Emily decisively left with Pumpkin and me. I barked excitedly. That's the woman I love. So cool! Back home, Emily dried my paws.
Buddy, do you dislike that store clerk?
I was taken aback and met Emily's gaze. Her eyes were filled with tenderness.
Woof.
If you don't like him, I won't let him bathe you again.
Woof. Great. We're on the same wavelength.
Emily stared into my eyes, then suddenly rubbed her temples.
I wonder if I'm too tired from work, thinking a dog looks like you.
Gradually, her voice softened, and she gently hugged me.
Buddy, I miss you so much.
My tail drooped. Seeing Emily so vulnerable, my heart softened. I extended my tongue and licked her face.
I'm sorry, Emily. Your sadness is because of the wounds I left you. Let me try to heal them.
During my time with Emily, I noticed some changes in her. Emily is allergic to milk, but I have a sweet tooth and love dairy products. In the past, the fridge only had a few bottles of milk for me in the farthest corner. Logically, since I'm no longer here, there shouldn't be any more milk. But Emily still buys a few bottles of my favorite brand and places them in the fridge's corner. Everything in the house remains as it was when I was alive. Nothing has changed. One night, Emily drank a bottle of milk alone and ended up in severe pain, vomiting in the middle of the night, curled up in bed, drenched in cold sweat. I was heartbroken, jumping around anxiously, my tail flicking back and forth.
Woof, woof, woof. Emily, go to the hospital.
Seeing Emily in so much pain, almost passing out, I frantically searched for her phone but realized I was just a dog. Face recognition failed. Fingerprint recognition failed. Password. My paws couldn't accurately press one number after another. An overwhelming sense of helplessness enveloped me. No matter how hard I tried to stay by Emily's side in another form, a dog is still a dog. I couldn't provide Emily with the care and warmth of a man. I stood there with my phone in my mouth, looking dazed. Emily, lying on the bed, saw my expression and managed a weak smile.
Buddy, are you trying to call an ambulance for me?
Woof woof. Exactly.
It's okay, I'm just having an allergic reaction. It's not life-threatening.
Emily gently petted my dog ears with her hand, her somewhat unfocused eyes staring at the ceiling.
Allergies won't harm me, but longing can drown a person.
I silently nuzzled her neck with my head, inhaling her pleasant scent. Emily knew she was allergic to milk and couldn't drink it, but she did it because she missed me too much. The next day, Emily, looking exhausted, freshened up and went to work as usual. Watching her struggling back, I made a decision.
I needed to find myself a new male owner and find Emily a new boyfriend. I had to find someone reliable and excellent to take care of Emily in my place.
Only heaven knows how conflicted and sad I was before making this decision. But the truth is, I'm just a dog now, and Emily's life has to go on. I can't let her stay lonely, immersed in the pain of losing me. During this time, I kept an eye on the men around Emily. Unfortunately, every time Emily walked me, the people who greeted her were either neighborly aunties or the community property management ladies. The only man was the elderly security guard.
Couldn't there be a high-quality human male?
Soon, it was bath day again. Dogs and cats have different bathing frequencies. So this time, Emily only took me to the store, leaving Pumpkin at home. The last time we were here, the male employee, John, saw us and immediately stood up from his bored posture.
Emily, oh, I mean Miss Emily, you're here again? Is it for Buddy's bath?
Oh.
I whimpered, not understanding why Emily still brought me to this store.
Buddy, do you not like the staff here? Or do you not like this store? But this store was discovered by my dad before he passed away. He never got the chance to come here.
I froze for a moment, realizing how thoughtless I had been. Whether as a human or a dog, I had let Emily down. After comforting me, Emily stood up straight again, her expression cold as she looked at the fawning John.
I don't need you to bathe, Buddy. Get someone else.
Why? Did I do something wrong? Is it because Buddy threw up last time? But you don't know how hard it is to bathe Buddy, he's always moving around.
I rolled my eyes. You're the one who's disobedient. You animal-abusing jerk.
I know my dog best. Buddy is very well behaved.
I nodded vigorously in agreement.
At this moment, a man in a white coat walked out from the back of the store. He was handsome, with broad shoulders, a narrow waist, and long legs. His name tag introduced him as Charles, the director and doctor of this pet hospital.
I overheard your conversation. To ensure Miss Emily's satisfaction, I'll personally bathe Buddy. How about that?
Charles was the only man who met my appearance standards during this time. To observe his character, I approached him willingly.
Buddy rarely approaches strangers on his own. Thank you for your help, Dr. Charles.
This shows that Buddy and I, as well as Miss Emily, are destined to meet. Rest assured, I'll take good care of Buddy.
Emily nodded without responding to Charles. She squatted down and affectionately touched my cold, wet nose with her finger, her eyes full of love.
Be good, Buddy. Wait for me to pick you up after your bath.
Woof! No problem.
The last bath left a psychological shadow on me. When the perfectly warm water poured over my body, I stiffened all over.
What's wrong? Is the water temperature uncomfortable?
Charles frowned, carefully testing the water temperature himself, muttering.
The water temperature is just right.
He stroked my fur, rubbing the foam from the shampoo while saying,
Buddy, hang in there, it will be over soon.
Charles truly lived up to his reputation. Not only was he more attentive than most men, but his technique was also more professional. I squinted my eyes in comfort, even starting to purr softly. The only unpleasant part of the whole process was the persistent presence of John, who kept hovering around.
Charles, you just performed surgery on 2 dogs with fractures this morning. How about I help Buddy with the bath?
Go watch the store at the entrance, I'm fine.
Charles refused John's offer, focusing intently on rinsing the foam off me. Good. Reliable. I was very satisfied. John pouted, looking at Charles and me with obvious discontent. When Emily came to pick me up, John quickly grabbed one of my paws and tried to rush out.
Woof!
The sudden change caught me off guard, and I turned my head and bit him.
Ah!
John exclaimed, a small cut appearing on his arm. Oh no! I've caused trouble. My tail drooped as I looked at Emily with a pitiful expression. John finally found an excuse to blame Emily, showing off his arm wound with righteous indignation.
Emily, your dog bit me like this. You definitely need to compensate me, right? Let's not talk about financial compensation for now. I want Miss Emily to come to my house and take care of me for the next few days.
Take care of you? This was clearly a scam.
What happened?
Charles walked over, frowning at the scene.
Sometimes dogs don't intend to attack people. They bite because they feel nervous. Did you do something to make Buddy uncomfortable?
John, who had been so arrogant just a moment ago, suddenly looked guilty and lowered his head. Charles squinted his eyes and decisively checked the surveillance footage, seeing the moment John yanked my paw.
Such pulling behavior would make any animal nervous or angry. You're my employee, and I remember giving you a briefing before you started. Why would you make such a basic mistake?
The reprimanded John clenched his fists in resentment.
Miss Emily, this incident is entirely our store's fault.
Just as Emily and I were about to leave, John suddenly shouted angrily.
Stop! No matter whose fault it is, I did get hurt. Miss Emily, are you just going to leave like this?
Your store vaccinates its employees, right?
Emily held my leash, shielding me behind her, and asked the crucial question directly.
Yes, we do.
Emily took out 250 yuan from her pocket, not handing it to John properly but tossing it into his arms.
250, for your emotional distress.
You!
John's face turned pale, standing there stiffly. After we left, Charles chased after us.
By the way, Miss Emily, Buddy is about the right age for neutering. Neutering a male dog not only extends their lifespan and prevents them from wandering, but also reduces their aggression. You might want to consider whether to have the surgery.
Neutering surgery! Hearing those words, I felt like someone had pressed the pause button on me, unable to move.
Okay, I'll think about it.
Think about it? Is there even a need to think? I was suddenly alert. Emily! If you dare to mess with my male dignity, I will fight you.
Woof, woof, woof!
I protested all the way home, but Emily surprisingly ignored me. Even after we got home, Emily still had a furrowed brow, seemingly deep in thought. Could she really be considering neutering me? Oh no, oh no, is it too late to return to the underworld now? Inside the living room, the air was thick with tension. Emily sat on the couch, lost in thought. The only sound came from Buddy, her loyal dog, who was determined to cheer her up.
Emily, I brought you your favorite drink.
Emily looked startled but took the drink. She didn't sip it, though. Buddy, ever the faithful companion, gently tapped her back with his paw.
You.
She started to say something but then stopped, avoiding his gaze. Emily had never treated him like this, whether he was human or dog. Later that night, Buddy overheard Emily talking on the phone with Charles.
Can we do the checkup tomorrow? If everything's fine, we can proceed with the procedure? Okay.
Buddy's ears perked up in alarm. Emily was serious. He knew he had to return to the underworld to find Michael. He didn't want to face the procedure Emily had planned. Somehow, Buddy's strong desire was enough, and he found himself back in the underworld. Michael, the playful spirit, greeted him.
Hey, how's it going with your girlfriend back in the human world?
Cut the crap! I'm about to undergo a procedure. Do something!
All right, all right. Considering all the good deeds you've accumulated, I'll give you a special ability.
A special ability? That sounds impressive.
You'll have 5 minutes each day to speak human language. Pretty generous, right?
Only 5 minutes? Are you kidding me?
Michael's smile faltered. Buddy took a step forward, narrowing his eyes.
The good deeds I accumulated in a year are worth 5 years for an average spirit, and you give me such a small ability? I won't accept this. Do you want me to file a complaint against you?
Wiping the sweat from his brow, Michael reluctantly agreed.
Fine, fine. I'll extend it to 10 minutes and throw in a surprise gift. Is that enough?
Just barely, but I also want.
Before Buddy could finish negotiating, he was kicked back to the human world. He found himself at the pet hospital with Emily.
Relax, Buddy, the procedure will be quick. It'll be over in a blink, and then you won't bother any more female dogs.
Just as they were about to enter the pet hospital, Buddy clung desperately to the door with his paws.
Emily! Don't you dare!
The special ability kicked in at the last moment. Emily crouched down, their eyes meeting, and she raised an eyebrow.
I knew it was you.
Emily canceled the procedure and took Buddy back home. As she drove, Buddy noticed her eyes were red, as if she was holding back a flood of emotions. She pulled over to the side of the road and broke down in tears. Her sorrow affected Buddy deeply. He whimpered sadly, nuzzling her chin with his head. Suddenly, Emily grabbed his head with her arm, her expression turning fierce again.
Tell me. What's going on here?
Buddy hesitated, unsure where to begin.
Not talking again? Do I have to take you back for the procedure to make you talk?
Emily and Buddy were in a heated conversation, the tension palpable in the room.
No! 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 It's not that I don't want to talk to you. I only have 10 minutes to speak each day, so I need to use it wisely. Let me think about where to start.
Buddy quickly recounted the events that led to his current state after his unexpected departure from life.
Buddy. I don't care what you've become, as long as it's you. Her voice was filled with heart-wrenching sobs, and her shoulders trembled slightly.
Buddy looked at her with sorrow and patted her with his paw.
I'm sorry, Emily. I never thought I would leave so unexpectedly.
Buddy explained how he was hit by a car on his way to work. After the accident, the car sped away, and no cameras were around to capture it. Even after a year, the car was never found. The only consolation was his comprehensive insurance, which he had left to Emily as the beneficiary.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He repeated those words filled with grief. With only 10 minutes to speak each day, he spent half of that time apologizing to Emily.
Emily rubbed Buddy's paw pads and sniffled.
You look quite cute like this. Having a dog is much cheaper than having you.
Stop it! You biased woman. At least in the beginning, you gave me some canned food. Lately, you haven't even given me that.
Emily paused, then burst into laughter, a hearty laugh Buddy hadn't seen since he became a dog.
I gave you canned food at first because I suspected you had come back. The old Buddy used to wreck the house several times a day, but from that day on, you never did. I even installed a camera at home. When I saw you opening the fridge and watching TV like a human, I was even more convinced.
A camera? I had no idea you had installed a camera.
I put the camera on the wall. If you were your old height, you would have noticed it immediately. But now...
Emily, I warn you not to go too far. If you keep complaining, your boyfriend might get angry.
Buddy used to be nearly 6 feet tall, but now he barely reached 4 feet when standing up.
As for why I stopped giving you canned food.
Emily's eyes drooped, and Buddy instinctively moved closer to comfort her. But as soon as he got close, she suddenly pinched his face hard, pulling it to both sides.
Yelp! Tell me, are you trying to find me a new man?
Emily knew Buddy too well. But how could he admit it?
Of course not. Am I that kind of person? Emily, you've misunderstood me.
He said it with a straight face, completely unaware of how ridiculous he looked.
Even as a dog, you're still lying? Men are only honest when they're hanging on the wall. I didn't want to admit you were gone, so I never printed your memorial photo. Should I hang a double set for you now?
No, no, no! Spare me, honey!
Emily laughed for a while, then finally hugged Buddy again and whispered,
Don't leave me alone again.
Buddy wanted to say something, but his speaking time for the day was up. All that came out were barks. Ever since Emily confirmed that I had turned into a dog, my once peaceful canine life was constantly disrupted. Emily was so afraid I would run away that even if I went to the study to chew on my teething toy, she would call for me within 3 minutes.
Buddy, don't leave my side. I get anxious.
Woof!
We had an agreement, 1 bark meant yes, and 2 barks meant no. Given that I only had 10 minutes of speaking time each day, I cherished it dearly, mostly saving it for sweet talk with Emily every night. Emily now tried different recipes to make delicious food for me. Pumpkin, seeing this, once got so jealous that he dumped cat litter all over me.
What happened?
Honey, Pumpkin is a scheming little cat.
Meow.
Pumpkin rubbed against Emily's ankle, exposing his belly in a cute manner, completely different from the way he scratched me.
Even if Pumpkin is at fault, doesn't that mean you, Buddy, are also at fault in some way?
Woman, you've been deceived by that cunning cat. It was too late, so Emily had to make an appointment with the pet hospital for a bath the next day.
Can we skip the bath?
You smell like cat litter. If you can stand it, we won't go.
All right, let's go then. Lately, Emily had been letting me sleep beside her, but tonight was an exception. To avoid making her uncomfortable with my smell, I voluntarily slept under the bed. Emily tossed and turned several times, unable to sleep for half an hour, frequently getting up to check on me to make sure I was still there. On her 12th check, I jumped onto the bed.
Just so you know, you can't complain about the smell.
Buddy, ever since you were hit by that car, I couldn't sleep for a long time. I went to the hospital to get some sleeping pills, but the doctor said I was too stressed and suggested I get a pet to ease my anxiety. I remembered you always wanted a golden retriever, so I got one and named him after you. Buddy, no matter what happens, don't leave me again. I really can't handle it.
As Emily spoke, tears welled up in her eyes.
I sighed. Who's lucky enough to have such a beautiful and affectionate girlfriend? Oh, right. It's me.
The next day, Emily took me to the store for a bath again. I wanted to be lazy and have Emily bathe me so I could splash water on her with my tail. Just imagining Emily soaking wet. I couldn't help but let out a howl. But Emily saw through my plan and gave my dog head a firm smack. In the end, I was taken to the pet store.
Miss Emily, I'm really sorry. I found out through surveillance that the previous employee was mistreating animals and have since fired her. I apologize for any harm caused to you and Buddy. We'll cover a year's worth of grooming for Buddy. Is that acceptable?
He mistreated you?
I remembered the first time John bathed me. The words simple and rough couldn't even describe it, it was downright cruel. But since he was already fired, there was no need to worry Emily further.
Woof woof. No.
Emily finally relaxed, turning to Charles with a hint of displeasure in her voice.
Buddy wasn't harmed, so let's forget about it. But I hope you'll be more careful when hiring in the future. Some people's character is worse than that of cats and dogs.
Charles wiped the sweat from his forehead, nodding repeatedly. This time, Charles personally bathed me. Having had 2 baths already, I cooperated very well. As a result, this bath took 20 minutes less than the previous one. After being blow-dried, I was put in a cage.
Buddy, be good and wait a bit. Your owner will be here to pick you up soon.
Just then, the door of the pet hospital was pushed open, and a man rushed in holding a cat covered in blood.
Charles, my cat jumped from the 3rd floor. Please do something.
Charles hurriedly left to attend to the injured cat. I was dozing in the cage when suddenly the door opened. Before I could open my eyes, a cloth reeking of chemicals was pressed tightly over my nose and mouth. I immediately lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I found myself on the rooftop of a 2-story building, a chain around my neck. Looking down at the muddy path below, I felt a strange sense of familiarity.
Awake?
The familiar voice made me turn around, only to meet John's sinister smile.
Woof.
I lowered my upper body, a warning growl rumbling from my throat as I glared at him warily.
Just a dog, huh? Believe me, I can end you anytime, anywhere.
John pulled out a wooden stick and struck me hard. Any movement tightened the chain around my neck, forcing me to endure the blow. Pain spread through my body, and I let out a whimper.
If you hadn't vomited, Emily wouldn't have disliked me, Charles wouldn't have checked the surveillance, and I wouldn't have been fired. It's all your fault. I worked so hard to get a chance to be near Emily, and you ruined everything.
I bared my teeth in pain, my fur standing on end. His eyes were filled with hatred and resentment towards me. If looks could kill, I'd probably be nothing but a pile of dog meat by now.
I suggest you behave. When Emily comes, act like you like me. Let me be your master, and I might consider giving you an extra chew toy every day.
This guy must be seriously ill. Not long after, Emily came running up the stairs to the rooftop, gasping for breath. Seeing me chained and in such a sorry state, her pupils contracted sharply.
Give Buddy back to me. I'll give you anything you want.
Emily's voice was mixed with pleading and fear. She was terrified of losing me again.
Emily, I want you. I want to be your boyfriend, your other half.
John's eyes were bloodshot as he threw the stick aside and pulled out a small knife from his pocket.
No.
John stabbed me in the back, and I curled up in pain. He laughed grimly.
I'm the one who loves you the most in this world, Emily. Why do you never look at me?
My fur quickly turned red with blood.
Buddy!
Seeing the blood, Emily's face turned as pale as the wall.
Emily, you should have considered being with me from the start. Then your unlucky boyfriend wouldn't have been hit by a car.
What did you say?
At the mention of the car accident, Emily froze. But the current situation left her no time to ponder why John brought it up. She watched me intently, not daring to blink.
Why, even now, is your attention on this animal? Why can't you look at me?
John, with me weakened from blood loss, carried me to the edge of the rooftop.
No, no!
Emily's lips trembled with fear as she shook her head desperately.
I fell in love with you 5 years ago. To get close to you, I worked near your home, but you never looked at me. Then you got a boyfriend, and that man didn't deserve you. Only a man who loves you as much as I do deserves you.
Did you end his life?
John's smile faltered but quickly became even more exaggerated.
That's right. I was the one who hit him with the car. He was trying to take you from me. Emily, you're mine.
Emily blinked slowly, her voice trembling. The moment I hit the ground, the immense impact rendered me unconscious. When I woke up, I found myself back in the underworld.
Congratulations, you've passed away once again. The underworld is your eternal home.
Michael patted my shoulder and informed me that at the moment I fell, Emily almost jumped after me. It was the police who stopped her.
John has been apprehended by the police. After evaluation, it was determined that he suffered from severe mental illness and violent tendencies. In his world, anyone who got close to Emily was his rival. Emily was supposed to belong to him.
Emily fainted from the mental shock of seeing the golden retriever covered in blood. When she woke up in the hospital, Emily realized that the golden retriever was no longer me. The last glimmer of hope in her heart was extinguished, and she drifted through her days in a daze. 3 months later, she resigned from her job and opened a pet shop. In the underworld, I annoyed Michael to the point where his head buzzed. I pestered him every day.
I want to go back. I want to go back to Emily.
If I hadn't pulled you back, you would have been completely obliterated. Besides, what good would it do if you went back? Do you want to be a dog for the rest of your life? A dog's lifespan is at most a decade or so. You can't stay by your girlfriend's side forever.
I fell silent.
So it's better to stay in the underworld and accumulate good deeds. If you work diligently, maybe one day I can secretly give you a special favor.
I don't care. You said giving me a special favor has to be kept secret from the higher-ups, so if they find out, you'll definitely be punished, right?
Michael's expression went blank.
You?
Either let me become a human to protect Emily for a lifetime, or I'll report you to the higher-ups.
Michael's face turned pale, then flushed, and finally, he let me open the surprise box he had given me last time.
The surprise box can turn you into something that can stay by your girlfriend's side. The chance of becoming human is only 2%. Whether you can draw it depends on your own luck.
I excitedly opened the surprise box. A blank white light flashed before my eyes, and then I felt dizzy and passed out. The evening breeze rustled the willow tree outside the pet shop. The street light flickered twice. Pumpkin, who had been lazily lying in the shop, suddenly perked up and walked to the door, scratching at it with his paw. Worried that Pumpkin might run out, Emily walked to the door, only to find a familiar yet tall figure standing under the streetlight.
Emily, this time I will never leave you again.
I smiled at her gently.